Hi, my name is Abby Linville, and this is my Module 12 case study for EDL 854. This case study is about an elementary school called Briardale Elementary. The principal's name is Carl Santos. He is a very confident principal. The school serves 600 students in grades kindergarten through 5th grade. It is located in a diverse community. It's centrally located in that community and has strong community support and often hosts a lot of events for the school. The funds for the school and its curricular programs are designated by the superintendent. However, there were some foundations formed by parents in each building in the school district, and each of those foundations raises funds that are given to the school to help fund supplementary curriculums. The foundations make recommendations for how they would like these donations to be spent, and those recommendations are sent to the school site curriculum committee for approval. It is a very competitive process. Every individual school's foundation wants to raise the most money. So it's not abnormal for there to be some competition when it comes to the fundraising efforts. So this year there's a new foundation president named Mr. Bailey, and he is also extremely competitive, and one of his peers from college is the president of another foundation within the school district. So he was highly motivated to earn as much money through their fundraiser as possible. So he decided that when he was in college, they had a raffle event at his fraternity that he was involved in that was very successful. And so he decided that he wanted to host a raffle for cash event with the drawing being held at Briardale Elementary School. So he took that idea to the foundation. The foundation approved it. Mr. Santos agreed to allow him to host the event at the school. And then at the night of the raffle, Mr. Bailey was arrested because holding a raffle for cash event without a license is illegal. And so because he engaged in an illegal event and hosted it, he was charged with a misdemeanor and convicted of it. So now the Briardale Elementary School community is dealing with the aftermath of that and deciding how to move forward to start to build trust within the community again. So there were some legal and ethical concerns when it comes to this case. First off, the reputation of the school and foundation have been harmed. Whenever something happens where someone is charged and convicted of a crime, it makes the community feel really uneasy. And so the community is feeling like maybe the school isn't as informed as they thought they were, and maybe they might be putting too much trust into them. So that's a concern that the school has to consider. It is true that the raffle for cash event was illegal, which is a crime that has been committed and needs to be addressed. The supplementary curriculum funding has been directly affected. The funds that were raised through the raffle obviously cannot be used. So that means that the school is going to have to come up with what those missing funds look like. And there's also a concern that because the school hosted an event that was illegal, could they be charged or found liable for holding that event there as well? That is also an issue that needs to be considered. So if you could summarize up what the issue is in this case, what happened is that there's a foundation ran by parent volunteers that hosted an illegal raffle for cash event in order to raise money for Briardale Elementary. So if we look at the facts of the case, here is what they are. The people involved are the 600 students that the Briardale Elementary serves. The principal is Mr. Santos, and the foundation president is Mr. Bailey. The foundation members are also a part of this. They approved this raffle for cash event too. It wasn't like it didn't go through that approval process, so it was approved by them. The school site curriculum committee also would oversee any of the funds coming in, and so they are involved because they maybe did not approve of the event, but they also have they also need to be considered because they decide how the funds are spent moving forward and will be affected by this as well. The committed staff of Briardale Elementary are a part of this as well, and all community stakeholders who may have purchased raffle tickets are also needing to be considered as well. This case is taking place in a really diverse community. The school serves as a town meeting center for them, not just for this event, but for many other events throughout the year. And the community is really active in their schools and very supportive of each of the elementary schools and the high school and middle school as well. This is a kindergarten through fifth grade program. It is a public school setting. Briardale is one of the 6 elementary schools. They do have a very competitive atmosphere throughout the schools, and the supplementary curriculum is funded through fundraising. So let's review and prioritize some of the key facts in this case. This situation has had a direct impact on the community because the community is so supportive and involved in their schools, and they're seeing that 2 leaders, Mr. Santos and Mr. Bailey, seem to be unaware of some procedures that had to do with fundraising within their school and the budget that for the supplementary curriculum. I'm sure they have some concerns. The supplementary curriculum funding will definitely be affected. Some things we need to know are, what are the superintendent's thoughts about this? That wasn't shared within the case study, so we need to know more about what he or she thinks of it. We also need to know a little bit more about how the supplementary funding works. As I read it in the case study, I saw it as each of the foundations raises their own money, and then all of that money is given to the schools, and the schools decide how to allocate that. They do take their recommendations, and they do go through the school site curriculum committee, but it seems like they decide how the money is allocated out at the district level as well. We need to find out a little bit more about what happened to the funds collected through the raffle. I'm assuming that those funds will need to be returned and that they cannot be used going forward because they were collected illegally. We also need to know for sure, is the foundation sponsored by the school or is it a separate entity? In general, most foundations are separate from the school. They have a separate budget and they are led by a separate they're led within themselves and their own foundation and are not aligned with the school district. When I think about this case too, like a lot of the problem has already occurred and we're now dealing with the aftermath of that. And when I think about how I want to move forward, I thought about these 3 questions that need to be addressed so that the community can move forward. The first part is, how will the school take responsibility for its role in the raffle for cash event? The second is, how will the school start to address the lack of funding that was caused by not getting that fundraising money from that event? And 3, how could this be prevented in the future? So that led me to take 3 options. The first option would be to take no action. The second would be to take full responsibility as a school and a school district for our role in the raffle for cash event. This would mean that we would need to apologize to the community and ensure that their money is refunded. We would cut the supplementary curriculum programs for the upcoming school year to be fair to the other schools in the district. And we would take steps to end the parent foundations going forward so that this does not occur again. Number 3 would be to acknowledge a shared responsibility, making sure to apologize to the community for not ensuring that all policies are in place and refund their money. Working collaboratively with other building principals and the superintendent to develop an equitable funding plan that would allow the students at Briardale Elementary School to still have opportunities for some of that supplementary curriculum. We would also evaluate the current policies and develop updated policies for both fundraising and accepting donations from the foundation. And the last thing would be, we would need to ask Mr. Bailey to step down as the foundation president. So knowing these three options, I'm going to dig into each of them and look at the pros and cons. So option one is to take no action at all. The pros of this is it's a little work on the principal's part. It's kind of just like, let's just go forward and see what happens. The cons to this is there are no steps to repair the community relationships or the uneasiness that they might be feeling. The students will most likely miss out on supplementary curriculum because there is no plan for making up the funding that was lost in the raffle for cash event. And there are no preventative measures being put in place to stop this from happening again. So that wouldn't really be addressing the things that I think are priorities in this case. Option two would be to take full responsibility. This means, again, apologizing, refunding the money, cutting the supplementary curriculum programs for the upcoming school year, and to take steps to end the parent foundation. The pros of this is it would really start to begin to repair the school community relationships. And it also would take some steps from preventing this to prevent this from happening again. If you didn't have the parent foundations to have to work with, you really wouldn't have to worry about this happening again. Although it might come up again later with another type of fundraising efforts with another outside program that's trying to add donations in. The cons are that a full apology could lead to some legal issues. If you're taking on full responsibility for the district, or as a district or as a school, that could lead to some legal issues because you're taking part in an illegal activity. Another con would be that the students would miss out on that supplementary curriculum that they should be entitled to, just as every other student in the school district would be. And also, I think another thing would be that the parent foundations generate funding, and if you don't have another way to bring that funding in, then that funding will be missed over time and the students could do without. The next option would be to acknowledge some shared responsibility. This means you would apologize to the community and take steps to refund the money, to work collaboratively with the other building principals and superintendent to develop an equitable funding plan. You would evaluate the current policies and develop updated policies for fundraising and accepting donations, and you would ask Mr. Barely to step down. The pros of this is it would really start to repair that school community relationship again. It would allow you to take steps to prevent this from happening again, and students would still have access to the supplementary curriculum. The cons again would be that apology could lead to legal issues in the future.